And we're live.
And we're live.
Hey, everybody. We are so excited to be here with you today. Let me just tell you how this came about, because the origin stories are always good, but it'll help ground everybody to understand where we are. So my dear friend Heidi reached out to me, and we were just fetching a little bit about menopause and the things that were going on with us. And she says, Linz, this is such an important topic. I feel like we need to do a LinkedIn Live. Who can we ask to join us? And I said, I know just the person. So we're bringing the hormone boss herself, Dr. Iris Crawford, to the table to help us talk about the myths, the nonsense, the truths, and some practical and tactical things that you can do as a woman going through this change, or if you love a woman in your life, ways to help her too. So with that being said, let's just do some intros. I'll be real quick. I'm Lyndsay Dowd. I'm a speaker, author. I host a live show, a podcast host, and a leadership coach and leadership strategist. Heidi, please introduce yourself.
And then girl, you're such a slacker. Oh my gosh. No, I'm super excited to be here. And Iris, thank you for joining us and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge. So I am a, sales veteran. I am founder of Girls Who Sell. I'm an author, most recently a children's book author, and I'm 66. So what I love about this is we're sort of all at all different stages in our lives. And I've, been through menopause, but it's the post-menopause stuff that I didn't expect. I figured I'd be done with it by now, but I'm not. So we'll talk about, the different stages and what y'all can expect.
Yes. Iris, hit it.
Thank you so much for having me in this conversation. I'm Dr. Iris Crawford. I am known as the hormone boss. So I've been working with women on women's health issues for the last almost 20 years. And so I'm excited to be able to kind of help bring some insight into this topic, because it's a trending topic right now. And there's a lot of information out there. So it's really nice to be able to empower women to sort through all of that and figure out what's accurate, what's maybe part of the truth, and what are the biggest myths, and where am I even in the phase, of premenopause, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, everything. So yeah, it'll be a fun conversation today.
So first, let's give a shout out to some of the people that have joined us: Carrie Barra, Patty, Kate McKinnon, Ricky Passanelli. Thank you guys for being here. We love seeing you here. Please deliver your questions to us. We will get to them as soon as we can. But I think a really easy place to start is, what is menopause? Please tell us.
So now what I think is most important is to identify first premenopause and then perimenopause, because premenopause is just any time before menopause, right? And then perimenopause is just the few years leading up to menopause. So it tends to be around 45 is when perimenopause begins. You don't need a lab test to see whether you're perimenopausal. Perimenopause just means around the time that most women start entering menopause, which the average age is about 52. So perimenopause can last 3 to 5 years or longer. And then menopause technically doesn't start until you're not technically menopausal until you've had 12 consecutive months of no period. So that's when you can finally say, okay, I'm menopausal. And then the postmenopause is after you've had that 12 months of no period, all the time after that. And so these are all different kind of phases that can be, a wild ride for a lot of women. So that's how you can tell where you are in the stages.
And there's some elasticity in all of that too, right? It's not hard and fast, because I'm 53 and I've technically been in post-menopause for a long time, but I'm still having hot flashes and I'm still having those symptoms. So can we talk a little bit about why we have these symptoms? What's happening in our bodies?
Yes.
Yeah, especially I think one of the myths is, and maybe it's not a myth, but it's like, well, you've just run out of eggs, right? And so when you run out of eggs, it like triggers all this stuff to happen, right? So is that true? Is it not? Like, what's happening?
No, it's more about your hormone levels and the fact that your hormone levels decline. I mean, it's just in our biology that our hormone levels decline at, start to decline around 45, 48. I mean, even sooner than that for a lot of women, right? So your hormone levels decline. And what tends to happen during perimenopause, which is why so many women have a lot of symptoms during perimenopause, is that when your overall levels of hormones start to decline, it can actually expose an underlying hormonal deficiency or imbalance that you already had before you even reached that stage. So the symptoms of menopause or perimenopause are hormone related that can actually, it's like when you have high levels of hormones, they can kind of cover up some of the issues that maybe are there. And then those get exposed during the times where our hormones are declining. So yeah, so and the reason why, if you want to go there, the reason why our hormones, why we have these underlying hormonal deficiencies or imbalances is because of our hormone production system. And our hormone production system, we can have problems with that premenopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause. And that's why some women have more symptoms than others.
So here's a question. I think the traditional solution has been hormone replacement therapy. And we know there's a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around HRT. So what's the truth? Give us the real scoop. Is it terrible? Is it the right thing? Talk about how it's been taught to us and the real truth.
Yeah, that, and I'm sorry if I can just add to, like, if someone decides HRT isn't for them, like, what's the alternative? Just to like push through it, or are there other natural alternatives that women can consider?
It's a great question. Yeah. Well, the evolution of how we treat menopause, like it's a condition or, has changed over the last, decade or longer. There was a big study that came out that said, HRT causes cancer. And so all doctors told women that they couldn't give them any HRT because it causes cancer. And they didn't want to have that risk on them. And unfortunately, the studies like this always have some nuances to them. And it has been recently discovered, there's a big kind of trend right now of new information that HRT actually doesn't cause cancer. And the way that I look at it is that there's a lot of nuance with it to even reduce your risk of cancer even further. And potentially HRT can be used in a way that actually reduces your risk of cancer. So the thing is, though, is that now, HRT has kind of been being thrown at every woman and making, I kind of feel like women are made to feel that they can't be healthy without HRT at this point, because the pendulum has kind of swung all the way over. And now every woman wants HRT, which is, it's fine. We're empowered right now, which I love. But I think there's an art to it. There's
Iris, just a question around HRT. Can you use it at any time, or is there an optimal time to use HRT? Like, do you want to wait till you're in full-blown menopause, or is it better to actually get ahead of it?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I do think you should get ahead of it, but it's not necessarily with HRT you need to get ahead of it. So I'll set that aside for a minute. There's not really any optimal time or right time to optimize your hormones. You can optimize your hormones at any stage of life. Whether it's the problem is, if it's HRT alone, it's really kind of missing the underlying hormone production issue, which is something that I'll be talking about a little bit. But But yeah, it also depends on what your goals are. If you're just strictly trying to use HRT to get certain benefits, because this is what the studies is like, if you can only use HRT up to a certain point of your life, and you have to start it before a certain age in order to see the cardiovascular and the cognitive benefits, brain health, bone health and all of that. And I don't know, I kind of feel like a woman deserves to have optimized hormones at any age, into her 70s, 80s, and beyond.
So and then what is the alternative? Sorry, Lynn, go ahead. Okay.
Well, so alternative. Well, the alternative to HRT, it's not necessarily, yes, a woman can optimize her hormones without actually taking hormones. That is true. But sometimes it will be faster if at least some bioidentical hormones are used. But I've worked with women who didn't want to have any hormones at all. And your hormones, your natural hormones, can be improved and raised without taking hormones.
Good. Let's dig in on that, because I know you and I have talked about this, and I don't think people fully understand what that means, because I think people view it as a switch. Oh, the shop is closed. We're not producing hormones anymore. Move on. And that's not the truth. So can you dive in a little deeper on that?
Yes. So remember when I talked about your hormone production system? So your hormone production system is actually linked to your stress response, and it's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. It's your lizard brain, right? And what happens in women's bodies in particular is that when our brains perceive stress, we actually shut down hormone production. And the first way in which we do that is we are busy making cortisol, the main fight or flight hormone. And when we're doing that, we cannot also make progesterone. It's one or the other. And this is how, evolution has designed us to survive rather than procreate at that moment, right? And it's working, we're here. But then the second thing is that the precursor to estrogen and testosterone, by the way, is a hormone called DHEA. And that hormone is made in the adrenal glands. So this is why stress can actually shut down our hormone production, and we can go into early menopause, things like that. It's really our body's response mechanism to stress. And so we also make hormones after menopause. How much you're making depends on how well your hormone production system is working.
Let's give a little shout out to our friends Alice Hyman and Jamie
Hi, Alice.
And there's a question from Alice. Hey, girl. Once you stop making hormones, how can you optimize them? My tests show I have almost zero testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen. So post-menopause, how would anyone start making them again? This is the head scratcher. Yes. This is the part that nobody can, we've not been taught.
Get your head around, right?
Yep. I love this
Great question.
It's probably the biggest thing I wanted to talk about actually today, because it is probably the biggest myth that we stop making hormones after menopause. Now, if you were tested and you were shown to have no hormones, that's not normal. There is a normal, healthy range of hormones for menopausal age that you should be in. And if you are deficient, even for your age, that's a problem, right? Our hormones do naturally decline through perimenopause and menopause, and even continue to decline post-menopause, but we should not stop making our hormones. So there is a hormone production issue, and it ties into what I was just talking. So if a woman is deficient in testosterone post-menopause, your testosterone, when I tested in saliva because that's more accurate, your whole body amount of testosterone, it should be around 20, maybe 25 if you're lucky. And if you're deficient for your age, then that means that your adrenal glands aren't making enough DHEA, the precursor, to actually make testosterone. So there's a whole production issue that needs to be looked at.
She says she's 66 and has been on HRT. So I would guess Yeah, if that helps.
So the question maybe is, can I make my hormones again? Even, because I have none unless I take HRT. And if you've been on HRT, the answer is yes. And I actually help women even while they're on HRT. And what happens is their hormone levels go up and they maybe have less need for the HRT. So they can either reduce their dose, but I don't mind women who are taking HRT. I think it's perfectly fine, but at least we want to get your hormones to ground zero, right? We want your body to be making its own hormones in the right amount for your age and in the right balance.
Can you talk a little bit about your approach, Iris? Because it's different than certainly, and I know, Heidi, you can share your experience, but when I go to the doctor, they're like, okay, you can take oral, you can do a patch, you can do a suppository. None of these things were great for me. And your approach is really different. So I would love you to explain what that is.
Yeah, I would. I mean, because I've been told, I've never done HRT, but, using vaginal estrogen to help with vaginal atrophy, Alice and I are the same age, right? Like those are things maybe post-menopause that we're experiencing now. I don't know if you can experience it earlier or not, but it's been more prevalent for me. I've been told to take supplements to reboot the adrenal gland, right? So there's all this misinformation. So if you could talk about that, that would be awesome.
Yes. Well, first of all, I start with a very data-driven methodology. So I'm doing the right testing in the right way to identify the hormone production issue, not just testing what you're deficient in. That's where a lot of approaches fall short. They're just testing what you're deficient in, putting you on that thing, and then that's the end of the plan.
Or they're just throwing stuff over the fence. It's like throwing a dart, right?
Shot in the dark.
Try this or try that, right?
Hope and pray. So we do the right testing in the right way, which is salivary testing, and I test adrenal function, and everything that I test is very, very specific to assess what stage of adrenal fatigue that you're in, because that you cannot get your hormones working again on their own without assessing that part of it. And then I have a methodology over time where I reassess symptoms and labs every 3 months, because my goal is to actually reverse the adrenal picture, the hormone production issue, get you making your own hormones again. And we're able to test that and use the data to assess whether what we're doing is working. We do see about 50% or more improvement overall in the first 3 months, and 80% improvement overall in about 6 months. And the production issue is reversed at that point.
So how do you reboot the adrenal glands, which it sounds like you need to do in order to begin producing hormones again, right?
Yep. Well, and just to let you know, I am trained as a naturopathic physician. And so I'm an expert in diet and nutrient therapy. I'm an expert in evidence-based natural medicines. And so a lot of what I'm using is all natural, and it's very specific. Like there's a lot of adrenal supportive herbs out there, but not every single one of those is right for each individual. So we look at the whole picture of the person in front of us and personalize it to them. And then we test and make sure that what we're doing is actually working. So there's a lot of natural.
It's not a one size fits all,
no,
which I think a lot of the OBGYNs and doctors, and that goes to that question.
Yes.
Lynn.
So my good friend Kate has 2 questions. She says, I feel like women get bounced around from their PCP or OBGYN or endocrinologist when they have questions about peri menopause. Who's the best doctor to go to? Also, what are some good ways to stop the weight gain that comes with pre or perimenopause?
That's a tough question. Who's the best doctor to go to? Because they're, from my standpoint,
go to Iris. That's who you go to.
Yeah, I mean, I am a little biased, and I'm skeptical of a lot of other approaches, because even like this is all I do all day. This is my specialty. And so of course I'm going to have an opinion, on how a lot of approaches out there are going. There's a lot of hormone specialists out there, and all they do is menopause care. And I still feel like they're missing the whole hormone production part. I do not know of anyone else who is doing that. But at the very least, I feel like there's an elegant hormone approach. And if you can find someone who approaches hormones in a nuanced way and doesn't just give you a protocol, every woman is given a protocol from hormone specialty doctors, is what I have found. And so, which, that's good. It's a step in the right direction. So I don't want to downplay that, because before you were just made to suffer through it, white knuckle it. But now at least you have access, right, to maybe some bioidentical hormones, right? But they're still giving you just the same thing every woman gets. Gesundheit.
Bless you.
The estradiol patch and the oral
or the cream
pill. And that's literally the protocol that every woman gets. And then that's a hormone specialist. So and
that's not what you do.
No, it's not what I do. Yeah.
So I want to talk about what you do in a second, but I also wanted to shout out. So how I met you was through Ricky, and Ricky was explaining how she started her HRT journey, and she was pretty much dismissed by her doctors that all the symptoms she was feeling were just part of life and suck it up and you're on HRT. And then she met you, and then I met you, and I'm working with you, and I know we have other friends that are working with you too. And your approach is, as you love to say, very delicate and very prescriptive. And I'd love you to just talk a little bit about that. And oh, by the way, if you're listening, we're going to tell you how to get in touch with Iris. And if you want to work with her, she's got a whole program to share. So don't worry. So Iris, your thoughts, please, on how you do this.
Yeah. So one of the things that I notice, even with women who think they have good doctors and they're on the right HRT, I test them and they're very estrogen dominant. They're overdosed, and no one's paying attention to the actual production of the hormones or caring about that aspect. So we work a lot on all of those things. I want to optimize your progesterone to estrogen ratio, make sure that your estrogen levels aren't higher than your body has ever seen in your life, and make sure that there's that balance, because the balance there is very closely associated with how you feel, your mood, anxiety, depression, energy, foggy brain, weight gain. And then there was the question about the weight gain. And actually it was on a walk with Ricky where this theory came to me about weight gain in women during menopause. And my theory is that we usually, like when we're in menopause, our estrogen levels decline. And what happens then is that our bodies think, oh, there's less estrogen. What are we going to do? So it increases cortisol production to take the place of estrogen. And what cortisol does is causes insulin resistance and create fat production. So then we get a little pooch of the menobelly, the belly fat. And its job is to make more estrogen. Fat cells are estrogen factories. So that's your body compensating, trying to replenish your estrogen levels. That's my theory. So we get that menopause weight gain. So replenishing all your hormones, make sure all your hormones are optimized. Even they can be optimized to the level they were in your 20s or 30s. But when it's above that, that's when I'm like, this is not being done. This is kind of hitting it over the head with a hammer. So I like that. The elegant approach is kind of what I call how I'm looking at it.
I love that. So what should women expect when their hormones are optimized?
Well, I mean, they feel good. They have energy. They feel good when they wake up in the morning, and they're not crashing in the afternoons. They're not like, they don't have foggy brain and memory problems. They're, they don't have a lot of anxiety or depression. Their libido is good. I think that those are the biggest things that I hear women complaining about when their hormones are not optimized. And those are all the things we want, right? Because those are the things that give us confidence and allow us to be able to shine at our jobs, or, you know, keep up with the demands of life. I mean, you know, stress is, you know, how are we able to handle stress on a daily basis? The little things, you know, that tells you a lot about how resilient your body is and how well your hormones are doing.
Love that. It's funny looking at all of the comments from the women who are here, and their stories are all really similar. And you know, we've been dismissed, we've been told this is normal, this is just how it is. And I think what we're trying to do with this call is to give you hope and to say this
doesn't
is
have
not
to be this
yes,
way, right?
yes. That's I think that's the biggest frustration.
Yeah, and trying to really figure out what's real, because there's so much misinformation out there, and women are so desperate to get help, right? Like, so it's like, okay, I'll try this supplement, or I'll try this, or I'll try that. And that, I would think that could almost be more dangerous or detrimental to the situation. And you're making decisions based on misinformation.
Yeah, that's a huge issue, actually. You know, I talk to a lot of women, as you can imagine, and even women who are not working with me. It's not just my clients. And a lot of us kind of feel, you know, we've had to fight and claw our way to get to where we are in life. And we feel that we need to be able to do everything ourselves. Because that's part of our identity. Our identity is that we are capable. Right. And some of us have, you know, raised kids, and that makes you feel extraordinarily capable. You've raised a kid. So we don't tend to ask for help, or, you know, we tend to be in that figure it out myself mode.
Well, we also want to trust our healthcare providers. You know, we want to trust the people we're going to see. And you know, this isn't a dig on all of our healthcare providers, guys. I want us to be really thoughtful about that, because there are really wonderful doctors who are really well researched and do really good things. What we're talking about is the misinformation and the stuff that they don't even know. And it's not their fault.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you may even go to your healthcare provider, but what they didn't help. So then it's like, okay, well, what other alternatives? I saw this ad for this, or this product, or this thing. Well, I'll try it, right? I'll try it. And, you know, and then it just compounds the problem and could be really dangerous from a health perspective, right? It's out of desperation, right?
Yeah, I feel like most women are kind of forced into that position in a lot of ways. And I think that's a great point, because, you know, they did go to their doctor, and they did ask, and they asked, you know, and their doctor said, there's nothing that we can do. You're just getting older.
Yeah, you got to deal with it.
Or they said, we tested, your labs all came back normal. That's why I wrote the book. Everything's not normal.
Yeah.
Everything's not normal. Or
like, Carrie, you need to go on antidepressants. Like,
exactly. Oh, yeah, that was the big thing, right? And I was like, no, the side effects of going on antidepressants is worse than me dealing with hot flashes. That's crazy.
And there's nothing wrong with those medications when you need them, right? But but it's used. Women are given birth control pills or antidepressants as treatment for basically everything. And you know how archaic that is? I mean,
insane.
So there's a huge lack of knowledge right now, which is why I have, you know, I'm very passionate about this and empowering women with the knowledge, because when you know the right information, you can make better choices for yourself and feel empowered making those choices. So it's definitely a needed conversation.
Yeah, so I actually switched doctors because I had a male doctor, and he was just so clueless in all due respect, right? Like, how am I going to go have a conversation with him about I don't know everything, right? And I was like, no, switching. Yeah,
my practice. It
was a little better, but even she just did a one size fits all kind of solution.
Well, I had to chuckle because my practice said to me, Lyndsay, go see such and such a doctor. And this guy, he was a fossil. He's like a white-haired
Right.
old dude. And I'm just looking at him going like, no, he will not know what I need. And lovely man, I'm sure. But my guess is he's not where it's at. And, the first time that we started talking, Iris, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such more of a comprehensive way to understand what's going on in your body. And as Alice said, what is normal? Every woman is different. So, I love your bespoke approach to understanding where all your hormone values are. And ladies, I don't know about you, but I've had hormone panels done. They're not that exhaustive. Like they'll be like, this is the red zone, but you're all right. And I'm like, well, why is it in the red zone? And what can we do about that? And the things that they recommend don't cut the mustard or don't make me feel good.
And yeah, I agree with what Carrie said. Like normal, we should just remove normal from the vocabulary when it comes to menopause, because from what I hear you saying, Iris, everybody is different, right?
Yeah, we want optimal.
Right, exactly.
We're ready to thrive, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think that one of the problems, I see two main issues here. Menopause education, women's hormone education is totally lacking. It's almost non-existent in medical school. So doctors don't know, and it's not their fault. They just, if they're not specializing it or whatever, then when medical school gives you the bare bones information, then you have to go out and learn it all. So that's one problem. The other problem is, this is exactly why I don't use insurance. Insurance-based medicine is so very limited, and it's even more limited for women, because women aren't just men with ovaries, right? So there's a whole world of care that's needed, and it's very nuanced, and it takes time to give a personalized approach. And in fact, I typically don't even work like one-offs. I have a comprehensive program, because I know exactly what you're going to need, how long it's going to take, and I don't want you to have to worry about what's going to happen next, or how long is this going to take, what am I going to take, for how long am I going to take it, where are we going with this, all of that. It's all there.
But you start with your test, and then 3 months later you repeat it to see how we're progressing. And that, I think, is not happening in most of our medical practices. So
yeah, and I think the time frame, if you wouldn't mind digging deeper into that, because I think the expectation is, well, I'm going to start, let's just say HRT for ease. And I should be better in, 15 days, right? Like I should be, quote, normal, right? Maybe could you put some expectation around, like, how long does this process take?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, like when you're just going to a doctor for HRT, it's very open-ended, because there's nothing that you're fixing. You're just adding adding a hormone to a hormone that's deficient, and there's nothing needed for that. But the problem is, a lot of women, I think, feel disappointed because symptoms, because it's not addressing the underlying issue.
Right.
So they're disappointed.
I should be better by now. What's going on?
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, so with what I do, I'm actually reversing, there's an end goal, which is reversing the underlying hormone production issue. Now, for some women, it's quick. For some other women, there's a moving target. That moving target is stress. And so we always are kind of chasing, like, what is the right support that your hormone production system needs in order to maintain the optimum hormone production that we want. And sometimes that takes a little longer. But like I said, so what we do is I create a comprehensive plan, and then the plan is just the starting place. You don't just go off and then follow a plan by yourself. The plan is the starting place, because every woman is different. I can't predict how you're going to respond to a specific, a supplement or a hormone. I can't predict it, because everybody is different. So I follow my clients very closely. over the 3 months to optimize and make micro adjustments to get that 50% or more overall improvement. So there's a partnership there. Then again, that happens over the next 3 months. And then that's why I see about 80% improvement overall at the 6-month mark. After that, there's a maintenance kind of system that I use, because again, as we get older, or if we're currently in a transition period, like maybe we're currently kind of in perimenopause, right? That's a transitionary period. So we want to be able to follow those changes. Your hormones are continuing to decline, so we need to make adjustments. Even post-menopause, your hormones continue to decline. Stress happens. All these things make your hormone levels change over time. So giving you one prescription, calling it good, and let's just test once a year, make sure you're not, that nothing dangerous is happening. It really is severely lacking. So yeah.
So can we talk about stress? Because it sounds like that's a variable that could have a huge impact on each individual person. So, I mean, it's like, well, manage your stress. Oh, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you. So how do you address like that stress variable?
I hate that. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with managing stress better, right? But then when you put the onus on the woman who's already doing so much and is burned out, that's a little rough, because it's kind of, it's a bit of a blaming in a way. I don't know, but yeah, managing your stress better. I mean, I don't know a lot of women who have hours a day to do meditation and yoga and things like that. Are those things good? Yes, of course. But there are things that we can do that help your body manage stress that you don't have to worry about. And that is mostly the thing that I look at. Is there are lifestyle things, of course, but the heavy lifting is the category of botanical medicines called adrenal adaptogens. These help your body actually not over respond or under respond to normal stressors. And because our brains perceive stress as, it could be traffic, could be deadlines, could be, family member, things, right?
A lot of family obligations.
Yep.
Kids, parents,
exactly.
Elderly parents, right?
So, and each of our stress response system is different. Like what we've inherited, what we learned for, how to respond to stress when we were growing up, and any traumatic experiences that we've actually had. These are all unique to each individual. And so some of us might need more support than others. Even if we don't feel stressed, you don't know necessarily what your HPA axis is doing, right? So that's kind of where I lean heavily into, because I don't expect my clients to go and transform their lives and become, a monk.
Go sign up for a yoga class. That's not your your response.
Or have to retire early, right? Or change careers, or all the things that a lot of women out there are considering because they can't hack it anymore because they're burned out. So that is all reversible.
So we were talking about that earlier about, and Lynn, maybe you were going to go here, but with the workforce aging, that there's almost zero focus at a corporate level, on women who are, in perimenopause or menopause, and it's something that I really think companies need to start thinking about, whether it's insurance. Alice brought up, we're not all lucky enough to be able to afford some of these treatments without it being compensated by, or at least subsidized by insurance. I don't know. So, do you have any thoughts around that on things that companies should be thinking about as the workforce ages, and 1.3 million women a year are who are of working age are entering into menopause every single year. That's just the US, right? So What are your thoughts around that, Iris?
I think that number is really low, by the way, Heidi. So
it is. I just pulled it out. I pulled it, but it was a recent stat that I found. It could be low. We'll just add it on to all the misinformation that's out there.
It sounds like that's just New York.
Oh, wow.
Maybe, I don't know, but anyway, that's it. I'm not here to debate the number.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's a lot of women.
Yeah.
And
women over half the
workforce is
population.
not the answer.
Yeah. So if you want to take, you know, I know there is a lot of value and a lot of motivation, I think, for corporations to make sure that their workforce is healthy. And that's why a lot of, you know, corporate health programs exist. And I think that what they've been doing is try to prevent heart disease and diabetes, which is needed, but they haven't been focused on women's health. And I do think that's an oversight. So I think it's a huge area of need, especially when women are in perimenopause and menopause, because there are so many factors that are at play with that stage of life that can directly affect your ability to lead. In fact, I just created a whole membership that's specifically for this, because I think that women, like connecting how our health affects our ability to lead and remain confident and keep our authority at work. And I think at our age, you know, like in your 40s and your 50s and beyond, that you're at the peak of your career. And that's the time that you should be the most effective.
Right.
So my thoughts are it's totally missing from, you know, from the workplace. Now, a lot of the things that they'll have available are to help with stress, like having a massage therapist, you know, or having a nutritionist, you know, things like that. But they're so peripheral, like it's not really cutting to the heart of the issue specifically with women's hormone health. And I think, there's a lot of opportunity there.
So, Iris, what are some practical things that women can be doing for themselves right now, starting today? I mean, Carrie's comment is like, with all that we have to manage now, we need to go do medical research. Like, that's horrible. It all falls on us, ladies, unfortunately. But that's why we brought Iris, because we really wanted to kind of give you some of those things you could do now. And, you know, one of them is working with her, but what are some other things?
Well, the first thing I think is getting the right testing, because not having the right testing, you don't have the right information. There's the tests out there that are the most appropriate for women's hormone health are either saliva or urine testing. Blood tests only show the hormones that are bound in blood, not the total bioavailable amount of hormones. So that's the number one thing. Then I think that what you want to do is have someone to work with where you're able to follow kind of a targeted, customized plan that's personalized to you, not just working with someone who's just guessing, right? So you do the right testing, you have someone who is personalizing your plan, and also addressing the root of the issue, which is how your stress response system is functioning. And I mean, you could kind of stumble through that on your own. I think that there's a lot of availability, like there's retail tests you can buy on your own, you know, you can take adrenal supplements on your own, you can do all of that. And if that works for you, that's great, but those are starting places. And so those are tools that I think a lot of women have available to them. They're quick and easy to get. And one of the keys that is really important that the testing needs to show is what your progesterone to estrogen ratio is. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that is in the Dutch test, which is a popular test that women will have access to sometimes. I believe that they don't calculate your progesterone to estrogen ratio. So yeah, getting the right testing, understanding how your hormones are produced, using adrenal adaptogenic herbs. These are things that are so key.
What are those? I'm sorry. I've
herbs?
Adrenal. What did you call it?
They're called
Adrenal
adaptogens. Yeah. So they help adapt your body to stress.
What's an example of it?
So there's things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, eleutherococcus, reishi, cordyceps.
A lot of mushroom stuff.
Yeah, the medicinal mushrooms. A lot of them are adrenal adaptogens.
Not the psychedelics, ladies. Calm down.
Yeah,
functional.
Although
this
is not my reality. My personal favorite is rhodiola, but rhodiola also helps with depression, so I love it, and it doesn't act on serotonin, so it even has been safe to use if you have an antidepressant on board. But I also
rhodiola.
And ashwagandha is a very popular one.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, before everybody goes to their local Whole Foods and goes and buys,
I'm running to GNC immediately.
And some ashwagandha. I think the worry is, at least I feel like our audience might be feeling a little overwhelmed. Like, okay, there's very few experts. They're all getting it wrong. And there's lots of things I can do, but I don't know where to start. What is the first step that they should take? First, to take a deep breath and not feel so overwhelmed, but what's the first way they can empower themselves?
And where can you get that? Testing obviously was your first thing. It's you've got to get a baseline and know where you're at, but where, other than coming to you, is there, which is awesome, but is there a way to get that kind of the saliva testing or urine testing?
You can get your own testing online. You can purchase your own tests online, unless you live in New York, New Jersey, or Rhode Island. They don't allow consumers
to order it for you.
Yeah, they don't allow consumers to purchase their own retail testing that is available to everyone. But there are tests available.
Can we link that in the comments when this is done so people can find it?
Yeah. I'll find some links that maybe, but what I was going to say.
Or could you just go to your OBGYN or your, a doctor and say, listen, this is the kind of test I want, not just a blood test.
I wouldn't recommend that. Doctors tend to not like being told what to test or how to test. They'll react badly. Some
okay.
I mean, for me, the sign of a good doctor is someone who says, I don't know, let me look into that, or sends you to someone who does know.
Right.
But some will. The problem, though, is if you have to tell your doctor what to order for you, and if you go into your OBGYN, you're like, I want to order a Dutch test. Can you order that for me? They're not going to know what to do with it.
Right. They don't even know how to analyze the data.
They're not going to be able to identify what stage of adrenal fatigue you're in. They're not going to be able to put together a comprehensive plan. So it's tricky that way. But there are some, at least it's a starting place that if you want to buy a retail test online, you can, just to see what, I do offer a second opinion consult. So if someone had testing they got done or whatever, then, we can put the link of that in there too. But at least you can get a glimpse into, okay, where do I stand right now? Get some insight into what it might take to fix it. But yeah, so I'll find some links though that I think might be good. I don't know any off the top of my head, where to purchase. I just know there's a lot of companies out there that are selling these tests online.
So to Lyndsay's point though, so get the test done, but then what? Right?
That's the thing. Then what? Exactly. You might see, so for example, the test that I do tests the hormones of your circadian rhythm, the sleep-wake cycle. So it tests AM and PM cortisol and AM and PM melatonin. And the lab that I'm using uses a range for the PM melatonin that I don't think is accurate. And so when I interpret what your melatonin levels are, I actually use an optimum range for PM melatonin, not what's the lab is showing. And so when you're interpreting a lab result, you might just say, oh, what's out of range, and think that because something's in range that it's okay, it's fine. But there's a functional way to interpret labs.
And is that age specific? Do you is there a different normal for someone in their 50s or their 60s, as an example, right? Like
for some things, yeah, for some things. Yep. Like DHEA and testosterone, for example. Oh, and good luck. I sent a client to get a prescription for testosterone, actually, and her doctor said no. And I think because doctors are beholden, a lot of doctors in the insurance-based model are beholden to what insurance will cover or not. And so they won't
do it.
Insurance won't cover, because as some maybe who are here have seen, there was a documentary about menopause. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. This came out like last year or a year and a half. And they talked about how the fact that testosterone is not an FDA approved medication for women.
Great.
Yeah.
So I can tell by just the comments here. I mean, Carrie asked, like, what credentials should we look for in a doctor that could help? And I think we're still kind of circling around that crap. There's misinformation. Yeah. There's not a good, effective way to get good testing. So who can I talk to? Are you looking for naturopaths? Are we looking for
NDs? I mean, obviously I'm an ND, so I like to
naturopathic doctor
support, because they're at least going to have a natural approach. They're going to see you as a whole person. That's at least the baseline, right? Which is great. A lot of them may even test the right things in the right way. And so I think that would be the most confidence I have in a credential for this. Secondly, maybe a functional medicine doctor. Sometimes they're kind of specialists in everything, though. And so you kind of get out of the focus of what you're really looking for. But functional medicine, I mean, they're focusing on integrated care. They may know more about labs and stuff than a conventional doctor. And sometimes I think it's DOs that are, and nurse practitioners. Sometimes sometimes they're more holistic, a little bit more holistic, but that's the order that I would potentially look for.
Okay. And, but folks, Iris is totally excited to connect with you on LinkedIn or on Insta. She's always putting out a lot of great information. Can you talk a little bit about just the entry of your program? And because I know that you've got a whole new program right now, and I just want people to hear about it. So if this is something they want to jump into, they can check it out.
Yeah, I have a few different levels that people can start. One, of course, is membership, where if you're wanting to kind of just amplify lifestyle, diet, and things that you can do on your own, it's a membership. And I'm actually, I just launched this. And so I'm welcoming my first 50 VIP founding members.
Yay.
So if you want to be a founding member of that, then you can join that. It's $97 a month. It's half off right now. So that's a membership. But then I have different levels to work personally with me after that. So it could be something I call a private hormone mapping experience, where we do the testing and I create a 3-month plan for you. But you follow it on your own. So that's an option. And then up from there, I have an amazing kind of small group support version of my signature 6-month program, where you have access to me for 6 months. All the testing is included, and it's in a container with where you are in community with other women as well. And then, of course, I have the private program, 6 months, that's where women can work privately with me, unlimited access to me. So, and that tends to be, just depends on your lifestyle. So I offer free consultations, so that if you wanted to talk through any of those, then we can do that.
And by the way, when Iris does these consultations, guys, she helps. I mean, for me, she dispelled a whole bunch of myths of things that I thought. Like, if you have an IUD, what kind of hormones is that putting out? And are they localized, or is your whole body absorbing them? And I learned a lot about that. So she is definitely open to those conversations. So she's going to link her program in the comments after this live chat. So please reach out to her. And guys, I hope, ladies, I hope we answered some questions and gave you some information that maybe you didn't have before. That was our goal.
Any final questions? We have in the last 5 minutes. Feel free to drop them in the comments. Is there, well, just while we're waiting for people to do that, being an ND, is there also a natural form of estrogen that you would recommend?
Yes. So estrogen and progesterone both can be either synthetic or bioidentical. And right now, luckily, the trend is moving much more towards bioidentical. It used to be that like, phooey, bioidentical isn't any better than synthetic. Now we know better. So what you can't necessarily go online and purchase. Well, maybe you can actually. I've seen products out there that have bioidentical estradiol and estriol in them. Definitely progesterone creams you can actually go out and buy those. They come from, they basically take wild yam and create in a lab, they kind of isolate the molecular structures in there, and that more closely mimics the body's natural progesterone levels. And that's, there's an epidemic of progesterone deficiency in women, and it's because it's the first thing that goes when we're stressed. So definitely, I am a huge fan of progesterone creams to help get your progesterone levels up, but then you need to test and make sure, like, when is it time to stop, or do you, things with
that was something I learned too, that you can stop. Like, once you get your body kind of going in the right direction, you don't need all of these things for life.
It's not like marriage. It's not a lifetime commitment, right? Like you can.
Yeah. It depends on what your goals are, right?
You can go on a maintenance.
I call it zhuzhing your hormone. Like, once your hormones are like in the range for your age, then if you want, you can zhuzh them and bring them up a little bit more, like maybe close to what you had in your 30s, right? Like that's kind of, and that's, but the thing is women should have the choice, right?
Yeah.
Be able to feel good at any age and have the choice of whether or not they want to use HRT forever. So yeah, that's what I empower women to do.
I love that. We should have choice. We should have.
We should. And we should have more information. And hopefully this was the start of some new information for y'all. It was a joy being with you both. Heidi, great idea doing this. And Iris.
Thanks for jumping in and introducing Iris. Iris, you're phenomenal. I've loved your program. The information that I get every day, I'm just, through the platform is so informative. I've learned so much already. So Thank you for that.
And thanks for having me on. I get really excited and passionate talking about all this, and hope I get to meet some new women and help however I can.
Well, I think we should do another one. I think, I think we need to normalize this conversation, and, we're done just, sweeping it under the rug, and we're going to get the attention of, and we're going to get the attention of companies, because it's a huge gap.
Well, everyone listening, if there are topics you want us to cover, let us know, because we are not opposed to going there. And we tried to make this natural and normal and fun, and hopefully it hit the mark. But thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
Thanks everyone for showing up today. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye.